What have you done to define success for yourself? And then the follow-up to that would be how you define your self-worth so you don't get caught up in that trap that many of us get caught up in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very interesting set of questions. I think, how do you define your self-worth, or sorry, how do you define success? On paper, I would say that I define success as having the freedom to do whatever I want to do musically and to be able to survive enough to continue doing that thing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's great.
That's my on paper response.
Yeah.
But I, of course, get frustrated when I see someone who I think is not real getting a lot of attention, or when, you know, I mean, this kind of thing about justice, you know? And on paper, I would say, don't take a second to think about justice, about what's fair, what's right, who deserves this, who doesn't deserve that, because it's really an exercise in futility. Absolutely, you know, because the world works the way it does, and every action has consequences. And that, I think, is a healthier way to look at life in general, but definitely life in the music business is like, don't think of it as what's right, what's wrong, what's deserved, what's not deserved. Think of it as like, somebody did this and therefore this happened, you know?
Yeah.
And just think about it as like action and consequence, and don't assign a kind of moral judgment to it.
Yeah.
But that's, like I said, these are my on paper responses that I know are true, but I'm definitely a human being, and I get, you know, upset and frustrated and jealous, and I feel bad about myself, and then in other moments I feel great about myself, you know, because I feel like I tap into that thing that I'm trying to tap into all the time, and that's just a part of being a musician and part of being human. And to answer the second question, to kind of tie it in, first off, I try not to base my own feelings of self-worth on any kind of statistic or analytic or anything that can be kind of like quantifiable in a number, you know?
Yeah.
I really try to think about self-worth first, to starting as me as a person, about how I treat people and how I make people feel, and just the little decisions you make in your daily life to try to be a good human being, you know? And then musically, to treat music like any other element of your life, that it deserves time and energy and respect, and it deserves that you try your best all the time. And sometimes you try and you don't do your best, and that's okay, you know, I think.
Yeah. You don't have to qualify it with "I think." You're totally right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, I feel like I'm right when I say all that stuff, but then, you know, I can say that, and an hour later, yeah, I'll log on to Instagram, and then like everything in me just does or says or tells me the opposite of what I just told you, even though I feel like what I told you is correct, you know? And that's why I took 2 years off social media. You know, I just started again in January because I was launching a solo record, and I needed, quote unquote, which of course you don't need to do anything, but I felt that it would be beneficial for me to get back on after a couple of years. But the truth is, I was so much happier when I wasn't, you know, when I couldn't log in.
Yeah.
It was great. God, it was great. I felt normal. The time passed slower. You know, it was really nice. It was really nice. I'm going to go back as soon as I can to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, man. We play mind games with ourselves, and when other people that we're looking at have no idea, even, it's like sometimes I'll watch a video, I'm like, really? This person has hundreds of thousands of likes and views on this? Their time feel is awful.
Yeah.
And that's what this video is all about.
Yeah.
Is their time feel. But it's like, oh, well, maybe that's my interpretation of what I think this video is about. And 100,000 people aren't wrong for liking something. There's something about it that they like. Right. You know, like if there's a song that's in top 40, there's a reason why there's 1 billion streams on that song. It might not be for me. That song is not made for me to listen to, but 1 billion people aren't wrong for liking that. You know, so that's been kind of my like, okay, yeah, I might not like it, but it's just not for me.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, beyond that, it's like there is a reason, you know, and we as musicians, or whatever, no, I should say we as Cory and Michael have this instinct to be like, oh, well, something should be popular because of its quality in this set of criteria that we hold dear. It's actually a very highly specific way of imagining justice, and it's kind of inherently flawed to approach it that way, even though it's the absolute most natural thing in the world. And if you get 3 beers in me, and we start talking about pop music, I'm going to contradict all of the deep shit that I've tried to say in the last, you know what I mean? All the ugliness is going to flow out in that way, of that like kind of judgmental, like it should be this way because that's what's good to me. And, Yeah. I mean, a song's exactly, a billion people can't be wrong. They might not be listening to it because it's good. They might be listening to it just because advertising works and because a bunch of money was behind it. Or they might be listening to it because to them, maybe it's just as important that the person looks good as sounds good, or timing or whatever, I mean, there's always a reason. And I think it's where we make the mistake when we start saying right, wrong, deserve, doesn't deserve, should be, shouldn't be. That's the issue, Which, by the way, I say that all the time. I just try not to say it on podcasts.